All right. Yes. Good evening. We are back for another episode of an open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me as my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Ow.
That was a loud, wicked one. It must be the subject matter. Gotta be. Welcome to our broadcast. Tonight, December 1st, we will be covering the topics Girls Gone Wild, Understanding the Rise of Disrespect. We're tackling a tough topic, disrespect amongst young girls in today's culture. Deals with social media, changing family dynamics, and shifting society norms, all are contributing factors. We'll explore the root causes, examine the impact on individuals and communities, and discuss strategies for promoting respect and empathy. Join us as we delve into this complex issue for a young woman, explore ways to foster more positive and supportive environments for young women to grow and thrive. Please like and share our video, and don't forget to tell the parent of a daughter to share with another parent of her daughter to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. We're at 992 subs, eight away from the long awaited goal of 1K. Finally, people, we will get there before the end of the year. Thank you all who helped us get here. So we are here. Uh, it's December. Damn, this year went by like a blur. But I always say that when you get a certain age, before you snap your finger, the year is over. So it's that time of the year. People start to come up with their goals, their New Year's resolutions, and out here robbing to pay Peter, robbing Paul to pay Peter, or Peter to pay Paul, whatever it is. It's that time, December. One of these up and coming shows, we'll do a recap of this year's topics and some highlights from 2025, and wishing out everybody the best prosperity in 2026. And to you all, I hope you all had a festive and happy and safe Thanksgiving holiday break. So we're here to talk about dive into close out the year with a much needed topic. Big Bad Wolf, what's going on? How was your holiday?
Dallas won, man. Dallas won. I got a little bit of turkey and giblets and a couple of beverages in there, man. Planning on the upcoming birthday and to close out the new year, wiping crossing off one of the items on my bucket list. Man, shit, I got nothing to complain about. It's all good from here.
Hmm. All right. Oh, for me, just getting got a few days off, which was refreshing, and I don't know. I start feeling a little funny Saturday, scratchy throat, and I'm like, oh shit, not again. And I just think it's that time things are going around. A couple of my coworkers been sick off and on, and it's just bound to happen in the school. And I'm better today. I'm much better. This morning I was like, oh, it's gonna be a long one, but I'm feeling much better. So I hope to take a turn and go into the new year with uh, I guess at this age, you can never say, like they say about aging athletes, you can never expect to be 100% because there's always going to be some aches and pains or something when you get a certain age. So I guess the higher percentage I could get, I'll take it. But I damn sure don't like being sick, congested, scratchy throat, and all of that unnecessary stuff. So I'm here and I'm in good spirits and ready to tackle this conversation, which is quite important. Last week we talked about the overall disrespect cult, disrespectful culture in the classroom setting, but you can't go no further unless you start breaking it down and looking at the genders. And these girls, the title of this show, Girls Gone Wild, yeah, they're wild. Not all. There are some girls, they come there, come to school, they pleasant, uh, they do what they need to do. Uh, they keep their little group of friends, and they are, working hard to make the honor roll and the principals list, and they're just, doing what they got to do, and they stand out of the way. And that's always it's always a blessing for those. But then you have the other ones who are just caught up, and again, like the first talking point was like social media, uh, and the influences of social media. Man, I tell you, I think once we came with that the 911 thing and cell phones, and kids started getting cell phones at a younger age, that probably was the downfall for all of this reckless behavior, because you put something with a lot of information that could store or hold a lot of information that they could use as a tool, and they found out how to work it. Before you give a kid a phone when they was a young age, they knew how to call, they knew how to play a few games. But then once I could connect to the internet, I can go on YouTube, oh man, I can hook up to Pornhub and all of these different things. That's where the issue went. That's where the issue. And the thing is, parents don't have phone checks or whatever, or certain times like time to go through this phone and see what's in it. And some of you have more than enough reason to want to do that, but you don't, because, as I say, you don't want to piss them off. Because some of you act like y'all afraid of y'all kids. You don't want to piss them off. You don't want them to be mad at you or angry at you, or them rolling their eyes, or don't want to eat don't want to eat dinner. They mad, just want to go to their room and slam the door and stay in their room, and then wait till your ass be sawing wood. Then go down there and raid the fridge after talking a bunch of shit the whole time, like they ain't hungry, they don't want nothing to eat, and they just waiting for you to, do your routine of sawing wood and calling the pig, the hogs, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's one of the key factors. Once after that 911 and everybody was in panic mode, oh, my kid got to have a phone, as if you can do something. As if you can do something by them having a phone. What's going to happen if it's, you know, some violent intruder come in, and just because they're calling you, what are you going to be able to do? Nothing. Nothing at all. I mean, it's nice to know, make sure that they're safe and all that, but I think it just caused a major uproar, and it impacted other facets of life that now it's spiraled out of control. And I don't think there's no turning back, unfortunately. Big Bad Wolf, anything you want to add to that initial point I made?
uh People, um I would say is this: don't close yourself off to things that you don't know about, things that you haven't considered. Open your ears to everything that's possible, even if you hear something that sounds far-fetched. Look into it, because things are moving so quickly nowadays that something that could be in vogue can quickly fall out of vogue, and something else can move in and take its place. It literally, that the culture among the youth changes that quickly, especially like David said, when they have access to social media. It's almost as if they exist in a different world. Well, actually, it's not almost. They do. They exist in a different world than what adults do. And when adults aren't paying attention, that's when things happen. And usually, when those things happen, they're never good. Never, never, just never good.
Mm. So back to and we wanted to delve into the roots causes, and that was one of them: social media and the social media influence, which is again, like I said, is huge because you have the folks that they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on Snapchat, TikTok, and some of that stuff is you'll be like Instagram and all of them. It's like I ain't even say soft porn anymore because it's out of control. Like some of the things that's happening and the OnlyFans and all of that type of activity that goes on. And we talked about this months ago that once your kids influenced by somebody else their age and they put them on to something like, girl, I got me an OnlyFans thing. I got all these old men trying to for me to and it's so bad that some of them shit they just got to show their feet and you got some freakish ass men just want to see somebody's feet and paying money to do all that, and it might start just like that, and then next thing you know, they're raising the stakes and showing a little more, and especially when they get of age.
Mm.
And but now, shit, you don't never know. I always said that a while back that stuff when it gets to this point, you need to start paying. It should be a price that you have to pay. That way, they won't have access. And whoever's serious about social media and who wants to use it in the correct way, then they'll pay the monthly fee. But for the ones who want to be on clown time or use it for inappropriateness, then they may say, "Ah, I can't afford to pay. I'm not going to pay this $10, $15 a month for all of these different things. That's like $60, $70 extra.
Yeah.
I'm going to get off of it, especially with you trying to be on. And then if your kid is trying to be on there too, that'll add up. But nope, that's not the case. So it's almost like, hey, expose them to it all. The devil, the wicked devil said, expose them, give them all, let them see it all. And these kids, they're emulating, and we always, I used to always make the comment, and I don't know, my brothers, I'm like, man, whatever, but I was like, man, BET is the destruction of the black race. When them videos first start coming out, and I always used to say that I was like the damn BT, the damn destruction of it because people saw those images, they wanted to emulate it, and that's all we're seeing now. But it's at a more faster pace and have more platforms and outlets for young people to emulate. And these girls, they always gonna favor the sassy chick, uh, or boss chick or queen bee or someone with that type of
Mm.
attitude. They're gonna take on that bravado and they're gonna try to roll with it, and they gonna try to walk the same steps as that person do, and it creates a lot of chaos, a lot of attitudes.
I'm gonna start this off like this. Generally, when we want to know something, we ask the standard questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. I'm going to add one more category to this, and that's by, B-Y. Now, who are we talking about? Girls, females. What? Disrespect. But I'm going to add something else to that: values. And I'll explain why. Where are these things generally or usually taught? At home, or in school, or in the community. as David said, they're learning it online. When should these things be taught? All the time, no breaks. Why? Because it'll arrest the culture in the way that it's going, which is sorely needed. As David just said, Black entertainment television was the start of that. You can talk about rap music, particularly the females, and and it wasn't, if we go back to when we were in high school, there was only a handful of female rappers: Salt and Pepper, um, Lil Kim, um, Foxy Brown. That's like Salt and Pepper. Nonchalant,
She like
MC Light.
Queen
And
Latifah.
most of them Queen Latifah. Most of them, with the exception of maybe Little Kim and Foxy Brown, they were on the up and up. Salt and Pepper had some little racy songs, but nothing too overt. But then we started getting into the people like Adina Howard and things of that nature. So let's keep that in mind. How can we arrest this development? By demonstrating at home and in the community what these kids should be, well, specifically what these young girls should be learning. And who should be demonstrating? Who should they be learning by? From the men, the older brothers, uncles, fathers. But the problem with that is this: most of them aren't present in the home, and if they are, their voices are neutered. They really don't have much of a say when it comes to how the young girls are reared. And that is problematic. Just earlier today, I saw a clip with get her name right, Alana Van Zant. She was talking about how when she was younger, you know, her aunts sitting around cursing, drinking, and smoking. She said, but there was always one common thing among them. They always wore skirts or dresses. And she said, why? She said, so that thing could be close to the earth, meaning that it kept them grounded. They always behaved like women, no matter what. At home, out in public, just like the language and everything. She said she learned how to cook from them, learn how to do all the things that wives were to do. And I know some women will come, they're gonna buck at that. Well, why we got to learn how to cook? Why we have to be this? Why we have to be that? You don't. But that's part of the culture that these young girls are emulating. They don't want to be wives. Hell, some of them don't want to be mothers. Now, it's far from me to say what anyone should be, but I believe being respectful comes with the territory, no matter if you're a mother or not. Because if you can't be respectful to somebody else, how are you going to be respectful to your kids? There was also another clip I saw where a 14-year-old girl was arguing tooth and nail with her mother, talking about, I'll fight you. Can you imagine that 14 saying that to your mother? Your mother. Not some stranger, not some kid your age, but your mother. So this is when we talk about the disrespect. This is what we talk about. And they take that kind of attitude to school. So what do you think they're going to do to a teacher who they have no regard for? And we talked about this last week. We talked about the aces. Keep that in mind as we discuss this thing. But all those things, man, wherever the lessons don't come from, eventually it manifests itself. And if you don't start early, by the time they get to the seventh and eighth grade, it's too late.
I just had a thought, and I always thought about this too. Like some of y'all, and I know y'all think it's cute, and I know y'all say, "Oh, they little girls." I don't know. I like to see little kids with nail polish on and all of that stuff, uh, especially when they're like little toddlers, 2, 3 years old, and got their toes all done up and nails. It's let them be a kid. Let
Yeah.
them be a kid. It's nothing. There's nothing cute about that at all because, for one, they're kids. They're still messy, and eh, you're either you can look at it both ways, but we know that they get into stuff too. They still play. They active, so it's no need to be posting or saying, "Oh, I had to take her to get a manicure, pedicure." And you're talking about a little 2, 3 year old that if they outside playing like any other kids, even if it's just in the yard, they gonna get dirty, they gonna fall, get, scrapes and stuff. So quit making them too grown when it's not that time. Um, and just some of the attire that they have, and then let's not talk about the weave and all that stuff. And I joke around. I'll be serious, but I'll be joking around with the kids at the school. I was like, man, y'all need to go back to the days of wearing beads and barrettes and all that. That's what 10 and 11 year olds should would have in their hair. They're like, beads, ain't nobody wearing that. That was back in the days, Mr. Clever. You just old. And like y'all wear lipstick and all that stuff. Like it's just it's wild. It's wild. And I don't think these parents understand how they be setting these kids up because don't let them be 13, 14, 15, and they have a figure, a shape, and you catch
Oh
that
yeah.
old head riding through, and then he pull up, and you know, it's 2 or 3 of the girls hanging out because again, we talk about this all the time too, that these girls shouldn't be traveling like when it gets close to dark time and it's just 3 or 4 girls, and all it takes is some older guy, and I'm not talking about 34. It could be somebody that's 24, 25. Uh, uh, a street pharmacist out in the street and he see a girl that's 14, 15, stop and like, yo, shorty over there, how old is she? And they be like, tell me you're 17, tell me you're 18. It they'll lie, especially he got a nice little whip, music going, and they like that visual image. It won't be far fetched for him to come scoop her one day. But where y'all gonna be at tomorrow? And then we gonna be over here. This is where we hang out at. And he scoop her, and you know the rest. And sometimes it don't always end up in a good way. Sometimes I see it often. 14, 15-year old, she was wearing a black hoodie or this or that, and she hasn't been seen since Tuesday, and now it's like Friday or Saturday. Got to treat them more precious. That got to keep more eye on them. Have a more tight rein because there's vultures out there preying, and they will destroy it all. And so some of those influences, y'all need to chill with them. Stop making them look growner than what they are. They're still kids. You got plenty enough time to be an adult. You're an adult longer than you're a kid if you live you know, a prosperous or a healthy life. That you'll be an adult longer than you're a kid. Those precious years, let them be kids.
I'm gonna follow right where he left off at because it's on my notes. There's a song R&B group named the Stylistics make called "You're a Big Girl Now." No more ribbons in your hair, no more barrettes, no more dolls for you to play with. Nas remade that into a version that was slightly more risque. There's a particular reason why young women go astray. And when I say astray, I'm not necessarily talking about they do things that are wrong. They go astray because there is no structure. And I have a question. And if I'll as I usually do, I'll answer this at the end of the show or towards the end of the show. Where's the first place that a human is nourished, protected, and receives structure? I'll read that again. Where's the first place a human finds nourishment or receives nourishment, structure, and protection? Now, back to what I was saying. When there is no structure set up, after this place, they went astray because they don't know any better. Like I used to tell my mentees, I said, rules are there to keep us safe, not to necessarily protect us from anything, but to keep us safe. I remember when New York State first enacted the seatbelt law, and people were just like, I'm not wearing no seatbelt. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that, despite all the information that the National Transportation and Highway Safety Board will put out about seatbelts saving lives. And it wasn't until people started getting ticketed that people said, okay, you know what? They serious. Same thing about speed limits. Same thing about DWI. Adults have repercussions and consequences, and these kids don't. So you allow these kids to get in adults' faces, swing on adults, do things, and nothing comes of it. So now they start to feel unencumbered when they do things. Oh, well, he ain't gonna do nothing. He ain't gonna say nothing. Mom never says anything. Well, people say, well, where's dad? Dad ain't around. Why? Be one of three reasons. You never meant to be there, single parent home, or you're divorced so he doesn't get around that often for whatever child custody laws, or you got things like Black Lives Matter, who decentralize the role of the father. Say, hey, look, we don't need no father. I was raised without one. Uh, My, my child is going to be all right because I'm going to raise her without one. And people don't see how difficult that is. That's not to say it can't be done, but why would you want to do something that's infinitely harder when you don't have to? It's not out of order biblically. We can take the Bible, we can put that aside. It's out of order by nature. Nature gives us a structure for the optimal production of humanity. Gave us a father, gave us a mother, gave us the ability to create families and communities. The whole ad is about a village. That's why the village was there. But now, because of this disrespect, the village isn't there anymore. People don't want to be around other people's children who are misbehaving. They're unruly, uncouth, and they running amok. They're destroying the neighborhoods before they really understand what's going on. And 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 I'm not just speaking on black people. I'm speaking to everybody, regardless of your ethnicity. We in this together, whether we want to believe it or not, because we can't run from it. You can't. Or if you think you can, you got to move somewhere where our culture, and when I say our culture, I'm talking strictly on the freedoms that the Constitution grants us, they're stripped away. And trust me, you're not going to want to live like that. You're not going to want to have somebody tell you when you can drink, what you can eat, how you can dress, how you can speak. You don't want that. This is why a lot of people continue to live in this country, because they have the freedoms and the rights to do as they choose. But you go somewhere else where that is severely restricted, and the laws come down on you harder than an anvil on the wily coyote, you can say, I don't like this. I'm not cut out for this. I want to go somewhere where I can do what I want to. And life isn't like that. We know that as adults, but the kids don't. So what are the kids going to do when they realize that, as they get older, the things that they used to engage in, they can't do anymore? Some of these men aren't playing that. You get in some of these men's faces, they knocking females right on out. And they could care less what society says. They'll take the punishment, and people are going to wake up and they're going to say, yo, these kids are out of hand. No, these kids have been out of hand. You're just now seeing it because it's outside of the schools now. What did um um not the locks, wasn't they said? They said we are grown and older and beyond the cops' control. Mob Deep. And this is what we're looking at. This is except now the offenders more often than not they're female. There was the story what in Chicago where a group of young girls assaulted a special needs child and a pregnant mother. What do you think that type of mindset is so prevalent at? People, y'all gotta wake up. Gotta wake up.
Is that the one when the mother was walking with the kid and they end up? Yeah, I saw that. I was like, man, I couldn't have been there. I couldn't have been there. I don't like stuff like that. I don't like kids can smell a weakness, and they just you barely seldom you might have one. Say for example, if it's 10 of them, you may have one or two that may have compassion in their heart or
Hmm.
empathy, and they say, "Yo, y'all chill, like, what are y'all doing? They're not bothering us, or something like that." And they may be really the silent leaders, and they may be the ones who like basically, I don't. I don't give a fuck what if y'all cut us off or what because I'm good. My family provides structure. We got guidance and all that. I'm good over here. So if you don't talk to me, it don't make me or break me one way or another. And I think that's the type of mindset for people who have that voice of reasoning in their head when they can cut you off. Because a lot of people, they, and even grown ass adults, they still get mistreated by friends, so called friends. And this is mainly women. And you have friends, people that you think in your circle, but they treat you like shit. And you accept it, you tolerate it, and it goes on for years. But when you have that ability to say, man, yeah, I could kiss my ass in Macy's window on a Black Friday. Uh, I don't care if we don't talk or whatever the case is, then so be it. So a lot of times you have kids that most of them are followers.
Yeah.
So they're gonna follow, and you barely have those ones that are like upstanders that say, "Yo, this is wrong. Yo, stop, get off them," or whatever the case is, and willing to side with the other people. That takes like a special individuals that were um, raised right and groomed and nurtured right to be able to take that side where so many people are followers. It's way more followers than in our leaders,
Yeah.
and it takes a special person to be a leader to say, "I simply don't care what the masses think. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to stand." Well, people catch on the slang and they say, "Oh, I'm standing on mine. I'm standing on 10 toes down." Shut the fuck up with that shit for real, people. Y'all don't stand on nothing, whatever, and don't believe in nothing. You only believe in catchphrases and stuff like that. You don't really believe half of the stuff that you say. If it sound good and it's slang and it's popular, you say it, but
Yeah.
you don't have no meaning. You're not even built like that to even to put yourself in a position to stand for something. And I think that's a greater issue because they had movies and they're saying Mean Girls. Those Mean Girls take over. And if you're weak and you want to be accepted and validated, then you take that punishment from them. But if you got any type of mental fortitude or a well structured and supportive family, they'll tell you and tell that chick to go about her business. Don't come around here no more. You don't need to talk to her. You got other people that you could deal with. And shit. Bye. Goodbye. You ain't got to talk to her or worry about it. But you have to have those type of individuals. And that's a parent and family thing to instill that ability in your children to be like, don't take no nonsense from anybody.
Yeah, there was used to be the bonding time between a mother and her daughter was when she was doing her hair. David mentioned something about weaving. I'm gonna connect all this together. Straighten the comb, blue magic, and that plastic comb. We used to scout, sit there, and they would talk about whatever it was that was age appropriate that she would need to understand going forward. That has been replaced by weave and synthetic hair. So there's no longer the opportunity for a mother and daughter to exchange information, for her to input wisdom into her. So she understands going forward, how to conduct herself like a young lady. Think about it. Finishing school. You never hear that term anymore about finishing school. Doesn't exist. The same way that girdles, slips, do they even sell them anymore? Do they make them? Sunday dinners used to be a thing. And who was revered? Usually it was the mother because she prepared it. She had the utmost respect from everybody that came by, even if you were. I remember, being in the foster home. I long left, but I knew on Sundays I can go by the Nos's residence. Shout out to Miss Nos, even though she's transitioned. And there was a pot and a plate, and I was always welcome, always, no matter what, until she transitioned. Greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, and yes, the big old jar of Kool-Aid. And believe me, I gorged myself till I couldn't eat no more. Sat on the couch and watching basketball, fell asleep. That don't exist no more. You ain't going over nobody's house to get no Sunday dinner. Why? Because everything's microwave nowadays. And this is going back to what I was talking about earlier when when women will say, "Well, why do I need to cook?" Who's gonna feed your kids? As a matter of fact, um, I got a bunch of scrap metal and bottles and cans that I need to take back. So I'm thinking Friday. I was off. I had nothing to do. Stopped into a Big Mac. I stopped into a Big Mac. Stopped into McDonald's to get a fillet of fish, and there was a guy in there who was talking about how much a Big Mac costs. He said it cost me nearly $40 to feed my family of three. I was like, $40? I'm thinking, what did y'all order? He said all I got was two Big Macs and some fries and some drinks. He said a Big Mac cost $8. Eight. When I was a kid, I remember Big Mac was $2, $2. Has 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 stuff really gotten that expensive in 30 years, maybe 35, 40 years? So I go to the kiosk, punch it up, and I said, oh wow. And here I was thinking $4 was a lot for a fillet of fish. I said, no wonder they can pay these people $15 an hour. But this is where you're going. If you don't learn how to cook, basic stuff. I'm not saying you have to sit there and punch out a 5-course meal like you're a chef. But hell, if you can't sit down and make basic stuff, you're gonna end up broke. No matter how much money you make, because going out is cost prohibitive. It's costing you more. You can go out and buy $100 worth of groceries, or you can go out and spend $200 for 4 or 5 days, and you got nothing to show for it, nothing but bad joints, high cholesterol. Your blood pressure is gonna be all messed up, and your kids gonna be overweight because you're feeding them garbage. The food supply in this country is not the greatest, especially when we compare it to other modern countries. It's terrible. So cooking was actually the way that you not only express love for your kids, your family, but it was healthier. You got to control all the salt, all that BS. Now you don't know what's in your food because somebody else preparing it. And I'm here to tell you that. unless you know a particular restaurant and how they prepare stuff, most of that fast food that you're eating ain't good for you. Now, me personally, because my diet is pretty much restrictive, I don't eat beef, I don't eat pork. I can't do a lot of fast food because they simply put they don't have what I eat. I try and stay away from fried food. I keep my fried foods down to probably once a week. I started a new diet where I'm trying to wean myself off of potato chips. It's going pretty well. The only time I have a problem is when I'm working late nights. So, I get my chips, but I'm trying to do that to keep my blood pressure low, get up the sodium. But man, people, it's got to change. And it's only going to change when we start putting into the young women the values. And I mentioned that earlier, and what they're worth and the self respect should be. Because when you teach them that, and this is one thing the Nation of Islam gets right, I will shout them boys out till I can't shout them out no more. The one thing they get right is they teach the women the value of themselves. And shout out to Brother Neri Muhammad. He said they have a phrase. If he's not going to get down on one knee, don't you open up two. I heard that. I was like, yo, because that's a lot of what we have happening. We have people just out here having random sex. No discussion about what happens if she gets pregnant and this and that, how they're gonna raise the kid. That's an afterthought. And these kids see that. They witness that. And not only that, they're living it. They're they're half brother, half sister, four kids in the house, three fathers. They don't necessarily have to watch TV to get it. It's in their house. It's their next door neighbor. It's their classmate. It's their friend. They're surrounded by dysfunction. So when they behave dysfunctionally, we shouldn't be surprised. Why should we? It's easier for them to fit in and be dysfunctional than it is to be normal. Because guess who's going to get picked on now? The normal kid. The normal kid's going to be ostracized. The normal kid's going to be bullied. This is why people are fleeing some of the inner cities. They're saying, look, I don't want my children going to school and that kind of nonsense. They can't learn. They're under too much stress. They come home, mom, this kid bothered me. Why? Because he don't know where his father is. What? What do you mean he doesn't know what his father is? It's mad because I got a mother and a father. They provide for me. I go to school, I get a lunch, I get this, I get that. People, I don't think y'all realize how deep this runs. So when that kid don't fight back, he don't fight back verbally, he's or I'm sorry, she don't fight back verbally, she's a target. Gotta get a handle on this stuff.
Well, and one of the things I like to do, and even like this past last week during Thanksgiving, just to mess with the girls, just to see where their heads is at when just getting ready to go on break. Like, oh, y'all ready to go home? Got to help your mother cook this and that. And some of the girls, they were like what? And then I see where their attitude come from, and I know that they don't have and not being taught them skills. Like I ain't doing none of that. But then it was one young lady, it made me feel good to hear that. She was like, oh, I help cook. I just made dinner for my family the other day, and I said, what you make? And she was like, I made tacos one day, I made spaghetti, and she's like, because I learned how my mother's teaching me how to cook because she said that's the only way I'm going to be able to get me I'm going to be able to way to have a husband, whatever. I got to learn, I got to know how to cook, and not that make it seem like that's the only way, but she was saying, I guess her mother was instilling in her that's an essential skill to have if you are going to get married and you going to have a family. You need to learn how to cook. So she said She watches her mother and she's in the kitchen with her mother. And it's simply a little test that I give, like a little eyeball test, just to see how they respond to it. And the ones that be like, oh, yeah, yeah, I do this. I help my mother with this. And I'm like, okay. So they got that good family bonding and they're teaching them some skills. But the other ones, you already know. They're just in their rooms on social media, in group chats, stirring up shit, waiting for the dinner to be done, and then come out, eat, uh, do what they got to do, then head back and be isolated and stirring up more commotion on social media and mainly group chats. And I mentioned that in the promo. These group chats, got to school your kids on that. Group chats is annoying for adults as well because you be like, okay, 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 like give it a rest. But imagine with kids and the stuff that they put out there and the things that they do and how they try to frame other people or invite other people into groups or spaces that they know certain individuals don't get along with them, but
Hmm.
they do it anyway. And it always carries over into the school. And y'all don't understand that. It could be something that happened Friday night, Saturday night. What the hell that got to do with us on Monday morning? But they damn sure bring it there because that's where the audience is at. Um, and it's unfortunate that as educators, we have to put out fires all day long because of things that's being said or done in the evening time or on the weekends. And it's a lot. Sometimes it's overbearing, it's overwhelming, it's frustrating, and you say to yourself, what if everybody came here to do what they needed to do? It wouldn't be um, that many problems if you came and I often ask them when they going at it, what did that have to do with which I was learning? Nothing. Uh, but yeah, still carrying on. And then, sometimes you say, oh, it's the classroom management. But again, it's hard for a teacher if you're in a public school setting and the classrooms is, you know, really should be designed. Maybe have 25, 27 kids, but now you got 35, 36, and you're dealing with a fire over here. Then you got a kid coming to ask, could they use the bathroom, get a pass to the bathroom. Then you got kids in the back. Then you got kids coming in late. This is all happening. So, as parents, y'all say, well, what are they learning? How the hell can somebody teach when you have all of this going on at one time? If everybody came in there, sat down, and was ready to learn, we had them slogans and cliches: "Be prepared and ready to learn every day." You send out summer mailings, you send out things to the parents on Connected. It means nothing if the parents are not going to enforce it and make sure that they're ready. No kid should come to school without it with a book bag or no pen, something to write with and all that. That's a parent thing. Like, yo, you got your bag ready, you got this ready to make sure that all of that stuff is ready. And I know people work different shifts. People work overnight. Sometimes you got to leave out as a parent before the kid, uh, before your child goes to school. And I know it's a lot that falls on your plate too. But as best as you can, you got to stay on top of some of it. Some of it. Got to give something. Got to give something. And if you're not giving anything, then that's the result of them coming to school being unprepared. If you're unprepared and you're not, and you're overwhelmed with all this information, and you're like, shit, I already got a zero. There's no way out of this. And What do you think they're gonna do? Bring somebody, take some other people down with them. They're gonna find people to pick with or stir up an argument, whatever, because they want to shift the teacher's focus off of teaching, and because they're not prepared, so they want to be create a disruptive environment, and that's how it all gets started. And all it takes is two or three disruptive people in the
Mm.
classroom,
I
and
don't
then
know.
it's a done deal. It's a done deal. Then you have the ones that want to learn. They're frustrated. Like, oh, could I change classes? Could I go to another teacher's class? I'm like, unfortunately, sweetheart or sir, it's probably going to be the same type of situation no matter what. It's not the school, it's not the building, it's the people inside the building. So when people say, oh, that's a horrible school, no, you don't say it's a horrible school. You say it's a horrible community that comes into the school. The school is just a building. It's just a place. It's the people that come in there. When they say, "Oh, this city is bad," "Oh, Niagara Falls is this," "Buffalo is this," "Baltimore is that," it's the people. It's the people
Yeah.
that create these issues. If, how you want to do it? Hold yourself accountable. If more people held themselves accountable, you wouldn't have all these issues.
And I'm sure people will say, well, what's the answer? Glad you asked. Networking. You don't always have to just network for business. You can network for your kids. People say, well, how do you do that? Glad you asked. Another good question. You start to ask, who are you friends with? What's their mother and or father's name? See if you can get me their phone number. Never mind you asking why. You just see if you can get me their phone number. And you start putting together a list of parents who need help. Because guess what? If one of you needs help, probably a lot more of you need help. And there's nothing wrong with getting help. Everybody needs some help sometimes. You start saying, hey, look, we have kids that we need to look out for. Who's home at these hours? All right. Is it okay if we have our kids meet there? We'll send you money for food and whatever is necessary. See that these kids do their homework. Oh, they don't have homework. Bullshit. If they ain't 90 plus students, they have homework. And it's up to you, the parents, to either find out what their homework is or, yes, I'm going to say it, create some. The web is full of questions that you could put together something for these kids to increase their academic standing. Because we don't have parents, and I know, a lot of these kids say they don't have homework because I heard it too. I'm like, how do you not have homework and you only an 80 student? Something ain't right here. What do they say? The math ain't math? Yeah, no. Something's wrong. You still got about 20 points of improvement you can have unless 80 is the new A. You don't have to get 100 to have an A, and something's missing somewhere. So get together, start networking. Use If you have to go to the school and speak to the principal and get the information from the principal, do that. Do it. Because some of your parents need to be pushed into doing things that benefit your kids because you think the school's going to do it all. And I'm here to tell you that's not the school's sole responsibility. Yes, the school is receiving taxpayer dollars to educate your children, but they can't do anything once those kids leave that building. That's your responsibility as a parent. When those kids leave that building, is to make sure that not only do they retain the information that was taught to them in school, they actually get some information outside the school because school's not going to teach your kids everything. School's not going to teach your kids how to handle conflict. Matter of fact, for the average student in elementary, junior high, and even high school or preparatory school, that's going to be their first source of contention is school. And the school's not going to say, well, this is how you handle it. No, the school's just going to suspend them. The school's going to look at them as a disciplinary problem and send them home or send them in school suspension where they won't be able to make up the work. That's where you as parents come in. That's your responsibility. I'm not going to say job because you don't file the paperwork for it. You don't get paid for it. That's your responsibility is to make sure that your students are well behaved. And if something arises, hey, nip it as quickly as you possibly can because as soon as you address it, the more at ease your child is going to feel coming to you. And guess what? It might not just be that child. It could be your daughter's best friend. They can say, "Well, I saw what you did for your daughter. Can you help me?" Next thing you know, you become an advocate, and people,
Mm.
well, I don't want to become an advocate, but nobody wants to become anything until they actually see a need for it, and
Mm.
sometimes that need's got to be filled. I was like that. Trust me. When I ran for city council, I was like, I don't want this. And then all of a sudden, I realized, you know what? There's a need for this. And, I feel the need pretty well. That's how I got my second job. Do it, people. Do it for somebody else if you don't do it for yourself. What up, Gavin?
What's going on, Gavin?
Er, Brother Dave, what's going on, gentlemen?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, relaxing. Just got home from work about an hour or so ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sundown out there on the East Coast. East Coast. Out there on the West Coast now.
Yeah.
Sunset about what, 7, 8 now?
Oh, heck no. Before that, sunset like around, say,
Okay.
quarter to six.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what's your take on so far that what you heard about this subject matter, girls gone wild, the
Uh,
rise of disrespect?
whew. Um, it's just they see on many fronts the behavior that's condoned, applauded, and because of that, there's no consequence for them making the wrong choice, wrong decision. Matter of fact, it's the opposite in certain aspects, certain respects, whereby wrong decision making is encouraged, fostered.
Especially by their peers.
Not just their peers, but, well, also those who supposedly are the generation before them that supposedly raised them or maintained them.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could see that too, where you have parents that kind of ride or die, and whatever the child says, they support it, and they're not when they're coming into a school environment or whatever environment, they're not listening to the other side or the other, the side of the story to realize, yeah, much she was wrong, um, and we need to do better. They just automatically kind of block out, or as Stephen Covey say, they listening to reply, not listening to understand. And I think that's goes on the line of what you're saying. Like they kind of applaud it, or no matter what, my child is right,
Mm.
and that leads to kids thinking, "Oh, I can take this approach everywhere." And it does it. Sooner or later, you're gonna run into the wrong person, wrong institution, or place of employment that somebody's not gonna stand for it, and you're gonna end up in the short end of the stick, and ain't nothing mom or dad can do about it. But
Well, here's the thing. Another aspect of that, I believe, because I was looking at I was checking out the thumbnail you guys have about girls showing disrespect, and from what I see over here, how Girls Gone Wild basically is this: you have young girls here. I'm talking about the West Coast, especially LA, which is where I'm at. For the most part, what do they see in the house at home?
Mm-hmm.
In a single mother house, they have siblings, and their siblings are for different men.
Mm-hmm.
And they see how their mother talks and behaves towards those men in regards to taking them to court, child support, and also working the system whereby it's hard for them if they want to have a chance to be around their kids. The mother knows how to work it where he has little to no exposure around them. So you have a young girl growing up in that kind of home environment who's learning from by sheer practice, everyday training from her mom. Oh, if that's what's going on, who outside this can tell me different? If my mom is able to go to court and keep my father away from me, my sister, my brother's father away from them, and just not held accountable or any kind of consequences, she doesn't. Not even so much as slap on the wrist. Then as that child gets into puberty and young
Mm-hmm.
adulthood, how the heck you think you, Brother David, Brother Herb, in that school setting or out elsewhere outside can tell her different?
You can't.
Done. And that answers your question right there. Girls Gone Wild. How they are able to live the way they are now with that disrespect.
It's going to start to manifest itself in terms of the number of younger women that are incarcerated. I know that sounds far fetched because women generally aren't given jail time, but the things that they get involved in is
Mm-hmm.
going to compel the court system to start handing out jail time, even if it's 6 7 months here, whatever their house arrest or suspended sentences. You're going to see an increase
Yeah.
in the number of young women who are behind bars. I don't know if that uptick has started to happen now, but I can assure you it is going to be an outcome and it's inevitable because
We are.
you can't
Thank
allow a part of society to be lawless while you punish the other side because men are
Well,
just going to start withdrawing. They're already doing it. So what are you going to have when you have a society that is just one sided? In other words, when you have just women doing things and men are just saying, "Hey, look, we're taking our marbles and we're going home. We're not coming outside, even if it's just to say hi. We're not going to help our neighbors, even if they cry for help, because there's nothing in it for us. We have to deal with these disrespectful, unruly, uncouth females. We do not want to."
well, let me just jump in here because I had just posted today. It's December. That shady time of the year. Let's look at the reason why women get arrested. The top five: shoplifting,
Uh-huh.
shoplifting.
I
We
saw that.
know that
Yes.
we know they boost and shoplift and do whatever. Uh, check frauds, forgery, uh, and deception, drug offenses, and sex work. Okay. Sounds legit to me. Some of the things that's going on, uh, and why they get arrested. And like you said, it's not a common thing that for somebody to say, yeah, my mom is locked up. It's it's very sad. Either men or women, but we know it mainly happens to men. But when women start getting arrested like that, it's it kind of it's a trickle down effect
Yep.
uh, in the community and
Mm-hmm.
the nurturing and probably compassion and some of these young ladies, if their mother's locked up, my God, I can imagine people gonna have hell to pay.
Yeah,
Hell to pay.
and that's
And
and that's part of that ACEs thing. I'm gonna keep harping on it because it just stems from it. When you have a parent that's locked up, it creates stress and trauma within that family. Whether it's a young boy or a young girl, and then that child, if the father's not around, guess where that child ends up at? Foster care system. And depending on who they're housed with, they can be very fortunate or exceedingly unfortunate. And a lot of these kids, they are exceedingly unfortunate. So now you take that kid out of their primary residence, out of that school that they're in, and sometimes out of that city that they're in. Think about that for a moment. Think about how that is going to impact that child. And I can speak from experience. Although I was very fortunate, but I've had that happen. Not that a parent went to jail, but I was just taken out of a school district, out of a city, and put to a whole different location. Now, I happen to be one of those kids that adapts pretty well to that type of stuff, and it didn't really impact me negatively. Actually, I think it was kind of beneficial because I became a better student. Not to say I would have been a worse student had I stayed, but it it compelled me to focus on certain things. So I personally, some people may disagree, say I benefited from it, at least from my perspective. But these kids now, they're gonna rebel, they're gonna turn around and fight, and then they're never going to be placed in foster care. They might be put in a home for juveniles, and that, I assure you, is the
uh,
absolute last place that they want to be.
well, one of the bigger issues with the whole foster care thing is probably the age of the kid.
Mhm.
If you got foster parents that's scooping up teenagers and all that, it's only for them probably to come up. They're on the come up mode. Let me get a couple kids, pay off a few things, or try to, unfortunately, and not all, none of this is absolutes, but you know me, I'm just going to say how I feel about it. And it's a come up thing. You get two or three of them in there, and you can get you 2, 3 thousand a month. You give them the low end of stuff, whatever, they get their little stipends and stuff for clothes and all that stuff. Meanwhile, I've seen it. I think the first high school I worked at down in Maryland is Owens Mills. That's where the Ravens training camp is. So it's, $1 million homes there, 500, $600,000 homes. And a lot of the parents that came to the school, they had not a lot of them, but it was some that, and I don't know the percentages, but they would have foster kids. And that was part of the come up move. Pay off some things or
Mm-hmm.
maintain a nice whip or have a nice home, get a few kids in. They know it's temporary. Sooner or later, they're going to age out, or you got a plan in mind that I'm only going to do this for 2, 3 years, go to the classes, get certified to be a foster parent. And then once I get back, shit, I ain't messing with these kids like that. Or make sure that your kids are out of the mix. They may be in college. So some people may like get help with tuition or whatever with my kids need. So they'll take on that. We're empty nesters now. We just have a couple foster kids in the house. So and some people do it out of love, but I'm speaking on the aspect of the ones that's trying to come up. Because they typically don't take in older kids because they already know what's coming with that. Especially now with everything that's going on and the damage that has been done with these kids, that's it's kind of some of them parents, the foster parents can't cope. They ready to like, yo, they're not gonna be here too much longer.
Yeah,
They're not gonna
come
be
get
here
them.
too much longer. Yeah, I'm trying to get in touch with the worker now. They got to go. They got to go.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Especially for minority males. Yeah, it's really tough. And the sad thing about it is, you have a lot of kids through no fault of their own. They're being placed because of what the parents are doing, not because the kids have disciplinary problems. Kids are having sayings. Usually, this is a court to step in. Okay, well, the home condition is not conducive for what we consider to be a home. State comes in, take the kids, looks for a place to place them in, like David just gave the scenario. And these kids don't know how long they're going to be there. They have no idea. They're being told, "Oh, it's just until your mother and father work things out." If they're lucky, which happens to be if you're a minority kid, married parents, maybe like 30%. The rest of them are not married. So the mother may have gotten strung out on some type of drug. She got to go through rehab. She got to pass all these tests. She got to get a job. She got to do all this. It takes time. Meanwhile, this kid is languishing in somebody else's home. They're not familiar with the rules. They don't like the restrictions because they can't go and come as they please. They don't have any friends. They got to develop a whole new group of friends. That's anxiety. So, what do you think you're going to get when that child is forced to do something that they don't want to do, that they're uncomfortable with? Oh, yeah, they could lash out. And the disrespect's going to come because they're being made to do something that they don't want to do. And they understand that the only way to get away from it is to lash out. They're not doing it because they're bad kids. They're doing it because that's the only form of power that they have. So when you put something in the corner or you put an individual in the corner in that trap, expect them to lash out. It's only natural. Somebody's trying to make you do something you don't want to do, you're going to fight back the only way you can. And that's what these kids are doing. So don't always look at a child, as misbehaving because they're bad. No. They're usually the only voice they have. And if you don't understand, you will mislabel their behavior as them being unruly, hard to discipline. No, they're not hard to discipline. They just don't want to be there. And they have no choice.
And sometimes, and that dealt with when we talked about the attachment theories and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, how that causes behavior, avoidance or disorganized behavior or security attachments. All of this stuff ties in together. And then often, sometimes, if they're not in foster care, it may be a grandparent taking care of them. And if they're getting a little older,
Yep.
it becomes difficult for them. They don't know nothing. They'll say in a minute, they'll tell me, Mr. Glenn, I don't know nothing about them phones or no social media. I don't know nothing. And I don't know nothing. I don't know how to check these grades and stuff like that. And your heart aches for them. And I try to have heart to heart conversations with these kids. Like, listen, they
They
stepped,
ain't
they,
listening.
they stepped up. They stepped up. Your grandmother, your grandfather, they're getting older. Why are y'all doing this? Like you got somebody that you know, that you care, that's that they're the mother or father of your parent, and they stepped in to help you out. And all you doing is trying to cause them grief. What if you stress them out to a point of them becoming unhealthy? They'll
Yeah.
take it in right then and there, but I know it's kind of like, all right, sooner or later go one ear out the other. But shout out to the grandparents that's step up and try to take on that role. It's a difficult one because again, if you're not savvy with technology or with phones and anything, then you can do it. You handicap. You can't say give me your phone and then go look for something that you don't know what you're looking for. Uh, and unfortunately, kids are clever and they'll hide stuff or uh, block stuff. I mean, they've been doing that before technology, beating beating you home before the report card comes in the mail and all that stuff and hiding it. Oh, it never came. And if you're not a parent to say, hold up, wait a minute, 10 weeks back, where your report card at? And it just goes by and you forget about it. Shit, they got over. I mean, these tricks only these tricks been around, but it's just now at a different level now. And if you don't have no, if you're computer illiterate or don't have no type of skills with that, and your kid does, your ass is grass, and they the line
They go in
for
circles around you. Yeah,
it.
they really are, and that's that's the unfortunate part. Is you have we talked about the village earlier. If if a child is aware, I mean acutely aware that hey, look, we can run circles around grandma and grandpa. They don't know what's going on. What do you think they're gonna do? They can run circles around your grandmother and grandpa. Now, it's up to you, and you're gonna have. They're gonna be just like kids learning something new. They don't want to learn anything new. They done did everything that they need to do. This is your problem. They're trying to help you out. So if they're trying to help you out, help them out. Show them what they need to know. And not only that, empower your grandmother or empower their grandparents, your mother and father, to say, hey, look, this is what you're supposed to do. And if you don't do it, there's gonna be a price to pay. Now they're gonna think, what you gonna do? Beat my ass? You too old to be beating on somebody my age. It ain't gotta be like that. First thing you do, and I know this is gonna come across as well. Take the phone, isolate them, isolate them from the rest of the world. Say, hey, look, when you come home, you go straight to your room. You're gonna do your homework, and when you finish your homework, you're gonna come down here and you're gonna start cleaning this house. And you're not gonna stop until you go to bed. Why I gotta do all that? Because you violated. And that's all you need to say. You don't need to explain to them necessarily how they violated. I know some people will say, "Well, that's not fair. You punishing that kid." No, that kid knows what that kid did. That kid knows full well that they were doing something that got them in this position. So I'm not even trying to listen to any nonsense about that's not fair. That's cruel. No. If you get called down to the principal's office, you know you did something wrong. And I don't want to hear about, well, they didn't know this. That they're giving the rules from day one. Your kids know what you expect of them, and if they don't, then you're a shit parent. Period. I don't care how you feel about what I just said. You are taking on the advisement to change. Because if you change, guess what? Your kids got to change. Because if they don't, they're not going to make it. And it's not going to necessarily be their fault, but it will be your responsibility. Period.
That's true. And as you were talking, I was thinking, I keep thinking back to grandma, granddad. I mean, there's always probably and I'm gonna say more on the female side, a aunt that's willing to lend a helping hand, that may be tech savvy and all that stuff. But the reason why she can't get them and they have to go with grandma because her man said they're not coming over here. They disrespectful ass ain't coming up in our house. So you do what you got to do on that end, help your mother out with that, but they will not. And he may give her ultimate. When they come in, if they come in here, then I'm leaving because they is not gonna come disrupting my peace. And even though that that may be their uncle by marriage and all that stuff, but you're not having it. Not having no disrespectful girl coming in, um, giving his wife a hard time. Then he say something, and heaven forbid he have to put his hand or step to her, then CPS get involved, and then he all jammed up at his job. So he said, "No, they can't come through here. They can come visit, but then they got to go. Can't do it." And that's the dilemma that we're put in. And then imagine the kids. Sometimes they get one of this information and like, yeah, well, my dad never was around. My mom, she locked up or on drugs. I have to stay with my grandmother. But my auntie, such and such, that's my favorite aunt. I love her. I can't stay at her house. Damn, nobody wants me. So when I go to school, nobody can say shit to me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can say shit to me. I'm gonna cuss them out or whatever. I don't give a fuck, and that's just gonna be that. And I don't care. What can you do? Either you could be someone that's an educator and say, pick and choose your battles and say, I know not to come at this person like that. Or you could be someone that gotta be confrontational as an educator and want to stay in their face like you do everybody else's. Not gonna work. Doesn't work with everybody. KYP, know your personnel, and you have to get to know that person, and maybe you could be that one person that could be a breakthrough for them to get on the right path. But it's work to this. It's work. It's just not easy when you have all these different variables and layers that's happening, and then you wonder why people behave how they behave. Then take it to another level, and we talked about when we got these girls roaming in the streets. Then sooner or later they find comfort in somebody, in a man uh, that showed them love and security and being there, and that's a part of them straying away. Like, okay, he bought me this, he got me that. I was hungry, got me that. Hey, this is the person that loves me, and they don't give a damn. They'll go to war for that person over anybody. So many layers, people. So many.
It is, and the reason why we bring these, we try and highlight these topics is because I don't think enough people really take them serious enough, and maybe so, and understandably because they say, "Well, I'm not affected," and we always hear some variant of, "Well, not my kids, not my nephew, not my nieces," and you know what? That very well might be true. But like I said, if you go into your neighborhood, I'm sure you will find a family somewhere that is struggling with their kids. Offer, offer to help them, because in the end, all you do is help your community. You cut down on teen pregnancy. You cut down on the mischievousness, whew, the mischievousness. One more time.
Mischievousness.
Yeah, the mischievousness of the kids around. So all of a sudden, now the neighborhood becomes a better place. And if the neighborhood becomes a better place, guess what? You got more people willing to move in. You get more people willing to move in. All of a sudden, now you get a better community. You get a better community. Guess what? The schools improve. If the schools improve, guess what? You probably get better teachers that'll come into the schools and teach. It's a cyclical effect. It's just like when domino knocks down the other domino. You knock down enough dominoes, you win. But somebody's got to start. And just because the things are going well for you, don't mean they're necessarily going well for anybody else. So check in on your neighbors, especially if you're a married family and you know the mother next door is struggling. Pop in, knock on the front door and say, "Hey, how can I help you? Me and my husband have this. Me and my husband have this. How can we help?" And don't do it with the intent to brag about it. They don't need that. They're already under pressure. Do it because that's what's in your heart. And even if it's not what's in your heart, do it anyway. Like I said, just don't brag about it. Don't go on social media talking about what you did for such and such. They already feel bad. Don't try to make them feel worse. Go ahead and do it. And resolve in your heart that you did something good. That should be all you need. What you want, Bookies?
And I strongly believe if you had task force groups and you had these after school programs put in place, that you had etiquette classes and different things, or a roadmap to prepare young people. I think not all, but you would have some people that could follow that structure and they would end up doing well. But again, we in a when like a lot of times people, time is money, and a lot of times people want to be like, okay, if I got to put in work, I want to be, I want some benefits or uh some reimbursement for their time to uh to do this, uh because there's enough talented people and skilled people that can put a good program together that can have these kids lined up on a regimen schedule and of doing certain things, cooking, budgeting, conflict resolution, almost anything. We always talk about the one-stop shop stuff if schools was designed like that, but something has to give, because again, the disrespectful nature or the way it's coming off, that a lot of times people are just turning their heads to the behavior and say, I don't want to I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I think I was just reading something maybe last night. It was, I guess, some 70 something year old guy. I guess, I don't know, maybe he drove for the MTA or something. And I don't think he was on his job, but he kind of stopped by with some people feuding over a parking spot. He was going back and forth maybe with this young lady. Uh, and maybe she pulled up in somebody's spot and maybe he intervened and said something. But the end result is she must put hands on him. And to the point that, and don't quote me on it, I don't think I didn't go through the whole thing, but I just kind of summarize it. He ended up dying uh, because of the damage. And when I was reading the comments, people were like, well, sometimes you, and again, that's what some people are doing. Sometimes you just got to walk away. That wasn't his concern. And, he probably just being an older, elderly, law abiding person, like, hey, trying to mediate. But a lot of times people are just turning their heads. Like, yo, it ain't my concern. Ain't my kid, ain't my relative. Hey, they do what they want. And unfortunately, that's totally against the way we were raised or brought up, because we had the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, or people in our neighborhood that were overseers who saw everything, and they would tell it all. Would tell it all. And now people are turning their heads to say, hey, it's not our concern, not my family concern. And some people were even saying shit, they could kill each other if it's up to me. Ain't got nothing to do with me. And that's where we at. How do we change that? I don't know. Some of you say, oh, we need, some of you say we need uh, religion back in school. Don't think that's the issue. I mean, we have that every Sunday and Bible study and all that, and people go. And what has that really, what has that really solved? hey, when they say it get really heated in the black community and they go to the black churches, they know where to be found. So, what's going on, people? Like, what can we do? Do we have any solutions for real?
No, that's a tough one. Very tough.
I'll say this: no matter what we discuss, there has to be an acknowledgement of a tacit problem, and until there's an acknowledgement, a society-wide acknowledgement that there's a problem, no fix is going to work. Once we acknowledge, or once there's a complete and sustained acknowledgement of there being a problem, we can find a solution. Now, how effective the solution is going to be, well, anybody's guess, I suppose. But that's, at least in my opinion, that's where it has to start. There's got to be an acknowledgement that, these girls are out here running amok. There need to be some restraint, and there need to be some pulling back on the freedoms that they have until they demonstrate that they are capable of handling the freedom that's given to them. Like I said, a kid of mine would not have a cell phone until they're 16 or they've proven that they're capable of handling everything that comes with having that cell phone. It's just, for me, it's just like having a driver's license. You don't get a driver's license until you've demonstrated mastery of certain things. And people believe that their kids should have cell phones at 8, 9, 10, 11. Why? You're giving this child all this access, and I don't care what kind of parental parameters you put on them, they'll figure out how to get by them. That's what they do. So you're giving this child all this access to all this power and all this information, and hell, you don't know what they're doing. Like I said, regardless of the parental controls and spyware and all, they find out how to disable that stuff. They find out how to work around that. Matter of fact, they'll let you think you got something going. But guess what they're doing? They're using their friend's phone. Why? Because their friend's parents aren't like you. The friend's parents let them do anything they want to. So when they come home after school and they want to go to such and such's house, ask why. And then say, okay. And you know what you do? Half an hour, 45 minutes later, you go over there, such and such's house, you see the condition of the home, you say, oh no, you can't come here no more. Why? Because like you said, they not like me. And guess what that does? It makes the child upset, but the child say to the mother or to the friend, I can't come over your house anymore because your parents aren't like my parents, or your mother's like not like my mother. What does that mean? Well, my mother don't believe in this, this, and this. She said, ooh, I couldn't live with them. Well, you know what? That child's gonna say something. Why don't such and such come over anymore? Well, because you allow me to do this, this, and this. And they're gonna say, well, what's wrong with you doing this? And eventually that parent's gonna want to have words with you. And you tell them, you sit down flat on and say, hey, look, I don't allow my children to do that. Now, I'm not parenting your child. That's your child. You do what you want to in your home. But as far as my child, they will never come over there again. And that's the end of the topic. So now guess what? That parent's in the position. Because guess what parents don't want to do with their children? You guessed it. They don't want to see them upset. So that parent has a decision to engage in. She can clean up their act, or she can continue to get worse. Now, I don't know what the parent's going to do. I'm not Scooby Doo. I'm not trying to find out. I'm not trying to solve that mystery. I will say this: power and leverage. They're strange bedfellows, but they get a lot of shit done. Because the last thing people want, especially women, isolation. Women are social creatures. They do not want to be left out by themselves. And before I forget, let me give you the answer to the question I had asked earlier. I said, where's the first place that a human finds or receives nutrition, protection, and structure? That question is in utero.
Mm.
Nourishment, ambient, the walls, everything else that child needs is there. But when that child is born, the protection usually defaults to the parents. But what happens when there's not parents and there's only one? And that parent's not there all the time, or that parent isn't there at all. We touched on this earlier with the foster kids. That child is no longer protected, doesn't have structure. Now that child is left to its own devices or her devices in this matter. And guess what happens when that child gets around a girl her age or slightly older, and that girl, no structure. Guess what she's going to teach your daughter? She's going to teach her that Cardi B is the woman you ought to listen to. Meg Thee Stallion, she's cool. Then we talk about gonorrhea lipstick, and next thing you know, she's a wild child. We just telling you how it goes. You want to keep that structure in place till your child learns what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, and more importantly, why. Because as Carver said, once they hit puberty, if they don't have those guidelines in place, you gonna catch hell. You gonna catch hell.
Yeah, it was so many things that you had said that had crossed my mind. One of the things is we just talked about cell phones and all that stuff. You know that GPS location work both ways too with kids. That they track your location and they know where you're at, so they pull off a lot of things. Oh, she at the grocery store right now. So it's kind of give or take, like it can kind of work at a disadvantage when they know, and you know, when you listen to them, oh, my kids, they know where I'm at, whatever. They track my location. Some of them track, and depending on age, because they watch your moves, because they're countering your moves. If you at the they track and see that you at the grocery store, they still know that they got a little time to do whatever, and they may be at somebody else's house, and they may be following your location and say, all right, they're getting close. Now I gotta go home. I gotta go home and make it seem like I did this or did that before she gets in the house. Come on, idiots. What you thought? And unfortunately, somebody might have been at the house. Some little boy might have been there, and now they looking at your ass thinking this or that, and they tracking the location. They're like, all right, let me get one more in. Let's do this or let's do that. All right. Oh, okay. They say she like 5 minutes away. You gotta go. You gotta go. He get up out of there. But they had the same old plan and routine because she knows your location. Uh, sometimes you gotta have. Sometimes things gotta just be a drive-by situation, and you just pull up, and they don't even know. Like, oh shit! Uh, but long as they can track you and know where you at, because you think you're tracking them, but they're outsmarting you because they're looking at your location and they're countering on what you're doing. And they're like, oh man, she had to work. She traveled with her job. Oh, she in DC. Uh, she got to get back to Baltimore, and it's like 4 o'clock. Man, she always talk about how long it take because of the traffic in the DMV. She ain't gonna be back home for 2 more hours. We can just enjoy each other, or whatever the case is. Yeah, see, it's downfalls to all of this stuff. It is, but y'all think y'all doing something, but then sometimes you, as a parent, you mightn't be in places you shouldn't be, and your kid's able to spot that out, and they'll call you out on that shit. Where was you at on this street? Who live over there? Uh huh. Uh huh. you gotta be you gotta be mindful, and they can hold that over your head.
Uh-huh.
And situations like that
Yes,
happen.
indeed.
Oh, you want to talk, mom? Don't make me tell dad. Don't make me tell dad. Because dad don't got all that tracking shit on this thing because that's not his thing.
Yeah.
A lot of
You see, with
complexities
daddy's
to
little
all
girl,
this.
what daddy don't know won't hurt him until you can no longer hide what you've been up to. That's when it really gets deep and you start grasping at straws, and all of a sudden you got to come clean. You singing that song like Money Love, Daddy's Little Girl. But hey, what do we know? We're just talking about what we see. We're just talking about what we hear. And we're just talking about the road that's been traveled from generation to generation. And it just keeps getting filled with potholes. And we're trying to tell y'all either fill in the potholes or learn how to avoid them. It's a lot easier just to fill them in, really. Because a smooth road is what we all want. We don't want to keep dodging potholes because that means eventually you're going to miss one. Boop. You might flatten your tire, and dent the rim. I don't know. It depends on how fast you're going.
Yeah, and these subjects is we just throwing stuff out there, throwing situations, scenarios out there, and trying to give a little feedback or something for you to think about. Too often, everybody does it. They doesn't want to. They don't want to hear it unless it's something that went viral or something. Oh, did you see that person who said this is what they do? Whatever. I'm going to try that. Uh, but we had these adult conversations every Monday night at 9 o'clock, and I know firsthand, and I know a lot of you are struggling with certain situations, but y'all are the ones. Yeah, well, y'all continue doing what you're doing, and nobody's saying we have all the answers. We don't. But the one thing I always said, I want to put it out there that we could talk about these dysfunctions, and we all we all struggle. We all have issues with certain things, but you got to talk about it. You got to put it out there. But all too often we sweeping everything under the rug and like until it hits me, then that's when we'll make a move. Be proactive. Uh, jump on top of things before it gets to that point of no return. Because sometimes when you're dealing with these young ladies, and we're speaking of girls, it may be a point of no return. That she ended up with a wah, wah, little baby, and now your principles is challenged because you're like, oh, I don't believe in abortions or anything like that. But she's like 14, 15. Now she got alone. Now in your 40s, maybe in your mid 40s, 50, and you like, shit. You say, oh, I'm gonna help, I'm gonna do this and do that, but you realize, like, man, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this is impacting my job or me making my money. And now, what else you got to do? Because she still got to go to school, got to carry on, and try to have some type of decency for the future of her child. But you put this out there, and now you're involved. And whether you're single or it could be a woman that was on attracted, got a good career, got everything. Now you met some people and they find out the dynamics. Oh, your daughter there, and it's a little baby. Nah, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. I ain't about to get caught up in that. I'm gonna travel the path of least resistance. Even though she fine as hell, but I ain't about to be over there with her daughter and a newborn baby. Mm-mm. And they may be projecting. They may have never been over there, but they projected. Like, nah, I can imagine how that's gonna play out. Nah, I'm gonna go on over there with homegirl. Travel the path of least resistance. I ain't gotta worry about nothing. I just chill, relax, have my peace of mind. As Willie A. Price said on his post, men are seeking peace over anything nowadays. I know he's not the only one to say that, but I just know that was just posted by him, man. Uh, some people, that's what they're looking for: peace, tranquility, calmness. But this subject, we'll touch on boys too, because there's no matter what, there's a void to be filled in every regard. Whether it's a mother, father, it's a bunch of things that impact us all. But I can tell you from being in the schools, a lot of the fire is created because girls don't let stuff go. Boys can get into it, yeah, especially at a certain age. They'll fight and all that, and they'll be cool the next day, and they'll be all right. And all that. Girls can be vindictive, and they have their group of friends, and they introduce other people involved in it, and it just never ends. Know how I know? Because I do mediations. And it start off with two people, and then well, you can call such and such to come down here. You can call such and such. Then next thing you know, they calling them like, yo, it's like 8 or 9 people. Absolutely not. We're done. Either y'all two fix it out since y'all the initial people with the issue, and then y'all tell y'all other people that y'all two made
Back off.
amends, and we gonna leave it at that
Yep.
because now it's getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting out of hand. You don't see boys who say, "Oh, yo, tell Tyrone to come here," or call him in there. They might be standoffish and not say much, but eventually, after talking and breaking down, they be like, "Yeah, you right, whatever." Girls, they just keep it going on, Then it could die down. Then one person bring up something, it's back to ground zero again because they want to bring that same issue up again. But like I say, working in the middle school, it's just a microcosm of adulthood. It's so parallel, middle school and adulthood. One day I'll write something down and I'll break it all down. Maybe not. I don't know. All right, it's 10:50. We about to get up out of here. Any closing comments to this subject? We're probably far from done, but just wanted to throw some things out there. Let y'all marinate while y'all baking cookies during this month and being festive.
Uncle Ron has been watching from the clouds. he prepared a little something, and I'm going to read it.
Mm.
In the birth canal is where the disrespect starts. No protection from the erection. Even in the womb, the embryo's doomed. Once outside the mother, she looks to the village for the support it's supposed to provide. She feels like the buildings surrounded her home, abandoned, left to the elements. Earth, wind, and fire provided us reasons to which we didn't teach. Now what? She grew up imitating the ways of a slut, learning how to strut just to make a quick buck. She grew up on Adina, mature with Cardi B. It's no wonder that she claims what she wants versus what she needs, both beginning with a D, thick and discipline. The village only gave her one. She rides it for fun. No one explained the implications of that kind of fun. With another generation's on its way, who are the elders to say? She should have known better. Well, she was never raised that way. That's what Uncle Ron goes gone wild.
Well, deep. That sums it up. Where we at? Yeah, that's where we at. Yeah, I want to hear it. A lot of y'all understand, y'all know, and y'all feel it, but y'all just haven't got to that point till it spirals out of control. And that's when usually people panic, and when you start feeling really uncomfortable, that's when you want to make a change. Got to cut the head of the snake, people. We know where the issue is at. We talk about it all the time. Yeah, waiting on that spooky God or praying and all that stuff that things gonna get better. Get it now. Look where we at now.
Mhm.
Unless you decide to go out and be proactive and uh, even help your child out. You sometimes we may sit back and think that they're gonna do it. They're not. In many cases, you may have to go out there and oversee it. And sometimes just little small baby steps that can get them to where they gotta be. But you gotta be able to willing to walk it with the same mind yourself. I guess that's the question. Have we lost our minds? Are we built for this journey with this disrespectful population? I can tell you for me, I ain't trying to be built for it in the school system too much longer. I'm done. I didn't did it. I didn't did it. I didn't did it. And I'm still feel relatively young and fresh and all that stuff, but I just sometimes it's just that time that you be like, gotta gotta drop all the jewels and stuff that I learned inside of it to foster other avenues. Eh, that's where a lot of people are. A lot of people are at when you come to this and dealing with young people. It's a battle. It's a battle, but it starts from the parents. It starts parents, the home, the community, and all of that. But we gotta have our eyes open, ears open, to try to help along the way and take, like Herb said, network, take suggestions, take feedback, find out what other people are doing, sign them up for something. Uh, just never know. Just never know what will be the outlet for them to say, "Man, this changed my whole life around." Just never know. Or as an adult, you have to think, what changed your life around? What turned your life around that made you stay on the straight and narrow, on the up and up? Got to figure out. Well, folks, it's December. I'm always gonna say, be mindful, pay attention to your surroundings. People out here, they desperate, and They're willing to do anything to get ahead. And just be on alert mode for that. Women, young girls, young ladies, do not travel alone. And again, just pay attention to what's going on because I'm tired. I am personally tired of seeing missing kids, even missing women, and all that shit. I'm tired of it. Seeing that because I'm like, what is happening? But it continues to happen. So therefore, we have to put ourselves as women. As women, you have to put yourself in better positions to be protected. I know y'all grown.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they ignore their surroundings. They'll see something out of place and they don't make note of that. Me, I'm different. I'm always looking for something that looks strange just so I can keep an eye on it. In my neighborhood, over the last year plus, there have been a lot of people walking up and down the neighborhood that I don't know, which is highly unusual. So I pay attention to where they're going. They just passing through, cool, because there's a bus stop at the end of my block. They're looking around, we got a problem. And now that I have Airbnbs on both sides of me, I'm always looking because there's always strange cars parked in front of my house. I'm looking to see if they go inside. All right. They temporary visitors. Okay, cool. I even help them out. Hey, to avoid getting a ticket, park in the back. And I tell them how to get there. Why do I do that? 2 reasons. 1, I like to be helpful. 2, if they're not staying at the Airbnb, they're going to tell me. So if you're not staying at the Airbnb, what are you doing around here? Because you don't live here. You have a business here. So yes, I'm looking. And some people say, well, what business is it of yours? Because I'm a homeowner and I'm looking for people that don't belong. Yeah, right, it's my motherfucking business. I'm going to make it my business to find out who you are. And you don't like it, don't come on the block. I'll patrol the block like I own it. Because I do. At least a piece of it. And you know how I like to close. Growth and understanding always occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right, people, we out on that note. Everybody be safe. We got a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Supposed to be little snowflakes, a little something. So I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it and roll with. But like my coworker said, she'd rather get out of school early than to go in. Get out early than to go in later. I agree with that too. But nevertheless, everybody be safe wherever you at. I know it's snowing in a lot of places. Be careful on these roads. No matter, it's idiots all over the place. It seemed like a lot of the major catastrophes happen during holiday season where you lose loved ones to stupidity. And just got to be mindful and be careful. With that said, we out on to the next one. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
One.